Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So I think everybody knows me. I'm Tonya Hamm. I've been a physical therapist since 1982, so a long time, about 42 years. I started out in pediatrics, and then I gradually, in 1990, I started doing home health part-time, and then soon after that went full-time with home health. And I've been doing home health since 1990. And home health is where I go into people's homes and assess them. It's usually, people generally need home health when they're homebound. So it could be a joint replacement, a hip fracture, I see lots of people with heart problems, or people that have been in the hospital with pneumonia, or occasionally even younger people that have been in really bad car wrecks, or people with strokes. So it's been a real adventure to do home health. Maybe if we have time, I'll tell a few home health stories. But let's see. So we'll go through the slides. This was a bit of a challenge to come up with. You know how when somebody asks you about 6 months before, they say, hey, would you do a talk on something? And I'm thinking, heck yeah, that's exercise, that's easy. And then the closer it got, the more I started thinking about it, and I was like, ooh. So it was a real challenge to try to put together something that I felt like would be applicable to a wide range of ages here, and also something that you guys don't necessarily already know, because I know that Binkley's a very educated group of people, even educated from a health standpoint. So you may know a lot of this. At the end, I will go over, brought a few little exercise props, things that I've used before, so I'll show y'all some of those things. I've got some handouts. We'll talk about those at the end of the session. So let's see here. All right, so posture, strength, and balance. So there are many facets to maintaining our health as we age, and today we're going to focus on these 3 areas to promote healthy aging. So the CDC recommends Americans have 2 types of exercise each week to improve health: aerobic and muscle strengthening. And experts recommend that older adults, and really any adult, engage in moderate exercise for at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, for a total of 150 minutes. And also muscle strengthening activities for 2 or more days a week that work all major muscle groups. And statistics show that less than 1/3 of Americans 65 and older meet this, and probably as many younger people too. So, you know, we already know the general benefits of exercise, that it's good for our heart, it's good for our lungs, it's good for our muscles. But there's some other things that they're also realizing. The benefits of exercise in preventing or managing chronic conditions that can influence longevity are well documented. But we're going to talk about, these are a couple things, new things that I hadn't heard about. One was that exercise bolsters immunity. There was a study in London, and they found that recreational cyclists had much younger immune systems, and they were people that exercise very regularly. So there's an organ called the thymus, and that makes our immune cells, which are also T cells. And T cells start to shrink when we get to age 20. Actually the thymus starts to shrink, and it makes less T cells. So the folks that were exercising regularly, they had as many T cells as the younger folks. So as we age, our immunity does tend to decrease. Our response to viruses and that kind of thing are weaker. But they have shown that with intense exercise, This can help you maintain your immunity. So exercise slows the biological clock. So this is another study that Brigham Young exercise scientists discovered that adults who ran a minimum of 30 to 40 minutes 5 days a week had an almost 9-year biological aging advantage. And this was connected to telomeres. You might have heard of telomeres, or you might not. Telomeres are nucleotide end caps of our chromosomes. And they're very related to age. So each time a cell replicates, we lose a tiny bit of the end cap of the telomere. So the older we get, the shorter our telomeres. With the people that had exercised very strenuously, they showed that their telomeres were not near as short as the people that did not exercise. So that then correlates to a longer lifespan, theoretically. Exercise also helps keep our brains younger. So research suggests that not only that moderate exercise can slow aging by 10 years, brain aging by up to 10 years. A study of 876 people with an average age of 71 showed that over time, those who exercise minimally or not at all experienced a greater mental decline than those who engaged in moderate or intense workouts. So exercise definitely can help slow our brain aging too. Okay, how to reap and enjoy the benefits of exercise while aging. Much of the research focuses on people that have long-term fitness habits, people that have exercised all their lives. But it's really never too late to start an exercise program. Aging is a physiological process that can be influenced for better or worse. There have been studies done showing that people that are in their, like frail individuals in their 80s and 90s, if they start on an exercise program, specifically strengthening, can really significantly improve their strength. So, it really is never too late to start an exercise program. So, strength training. This is also known as resistance training. And of course, this is different than aerobic exercise. So weightlifting, either with machines or free weights, is one type of resistance training. And then other types can include using medicine balls, which are those real heavy balls, or resistance bands, or body weight exercises like push-ups, squats, or yoga. So resistance training requires our muscles to contract to lift a heavy object against the pull of gravity. So the backbone of strength training and exercise in general is in the principle of stress and adaptation. So when you lift weights, you're subjecting your muscles to a form of stress. Your body reacts to this stress, and that sparks a healing process that repairs the damage. In anticipation of future stressors, your body fortifies your muscles, making them stronger and then ready and more resistant to the same level of stress. This adaptation process leads to muscle growth and increased strength. So essentially, with strength training, you really have to push your muscles. You have to challenge your muscles, let's put it that way. So, me just lifting like a 1 pound weight or a 2 pound weight many, many times, that's not really stressing my muscle. It's not causing my muscle. Actually, what sort of happens is you really get these micro tears in your muscles when you strength train adequately, and then your body repairs that. And as your body repairs it, that's what makes your muscles stronger. Yes. Sure. Yes.
How can you tell the difference between what's not enough and what's too much? I mean, how do you...
Okay, so we actually will get to that, but you want to be able to do 8 to 12 repetitions of the exercise and then not be able to do much more. So now, if you haven't ever done weight training before, you might want to start off a little bit easier than that. But you want it to be enough that you do feel like it's a challenge. So maybe like you can do 10 repetitions or 12 repetitions and you think, okay, that's not so bad. But then do a second set. And then you might realize, oh, okay, that 10th rep is, you're doing it with good form though, but that's all that you can do. That's how you know that you're at the right weight. There's some other sort of more detailed formulas that you could use, but really and truly this is the best way to do it. So once you reach like your 8th to 10th to 12th repetition, you're thinking, okay, I can't lift anymore. But as I said, if you've never weight trained before, maybe start a little bit lighter than that so that your muscles get used to you lifting weights. And then you can work up to that 8 to 12 repetition. So. Okay, how do we benefit from strength training? Of course, as we get about 40, age 40, we start losing our muscle mass. It's just what happens in aging if we're not weight training. So weight training helps us maintain and fight against the loss of muscle mass. That's why it's really important the older we get that we do add weight training to our exercise program. Osteoporosis. So strength training can prevent osteoporosis by increasing bone mass and bone strength. For arthritis, strength training can reduce pain and disability associated with arthritis. A lot of times if you can strengthen around the joints, if you have arthritis, that can kind of that decreases the stress on the joint. Strength training can decrease the risk of heart disease by improving cholesterol and lowering blood pressure. Of course, we already know about overweight, obesity. Strength training can help lower body fat levels and improve body composition. Daily activities. So strength training helps us maintain our ability to just do our daily activities. Like somebody mentioned about getting up. Oh, it was Donna. She was talking about, she used to think about running a 10K and now she thinks about getting up from the couch. So blood sugar. Strength training can improve blood sugar levels and improve the use of insulin. And also aerobic exercise does that too. So both of those types of exercise can help your body manage insulin better. And of course, strength training can help may reduce symptoms associated with depression and anxiety and may reduce fatigue. And strength training can improve memory and thinking skills. Okay, so complete body training of all muscle groups helps to reduce muscle imbalances. So in other words, like you wouldn't want to just train like your muscles right here on the front of your thigh that extend your leg and not do these muscles back here. You want to be sure that you're doing these main muscle groups, so it's extending and bending. So for each exercise, you want to be sure that you're using proper form and technique. So you want to be sure you're in the correct stance, have the right settings. If you use machines at a gym, this is like really important because it's easy, especially if you're, short like me, when you get on a machine, you just want to be sure that you have it set so that you are doing the exercise with the correct, so that you're working the correct muscles and that you're not straining anything because you're not in the absolutely right position. The same goes for like TheraBand or therapeutic exercise bands. A lot of times, my patients, and I've wound up not using TheraBand a lot because it's really hard sometimes for people to pay attention to their posture, how they're actually using the band. So sometimes I meant to bring one. I might see somebody, like if I'm having them pull like this, but they're not paying attention to the position of their wrists. So just your posture and your position is very important. And we'll talk a little bit more on that. Might be if you are going to the gym in the beginning, ask somebody who knows to show you and help you set up each machine. And years ago when I used to go to the gym, I had this little notebook, a little tiny notebook, and I would write all my settings for each machine and then the weights. That helped me kind of keep track so that I knew, I didn't have to think, how did I set this up last time? But I had it, written down. So you want to use controlled movements, of course. You don't want momentum to be moving the weight. You want to use your full range of motion of the joint. So, if you're doing this, bending your elbow, you want to go through the full range of motion, not all the way from, fully straight to fully bent. That way you're working the muscle through the full range of motion. And use proper breathing techniques. So you want to try to exhale during the exertion portion. So if, let's say, I was pushing up like this, I'd want to breathe in, push up, because breathe out when I was pushing up, because that's really the exertion part. So, that's a good question. It keeps you from holding your breath. Because a lot of times when we do something challenging, especially challenging exercise, we'll find that we holding our breath. And holding your breath is, not advantageous. It's not good for you to hold your breath when you're doing something very strenuous. Okay, so whether strength training, well, mainly with strength training, but also with aerobic, you want to do a brief warm-up before you get started. And that could even just be something like marching in place, swinging your arms. I mean, if you do this 50 times or 30 times, you definitely are warming your muscles up and getting your breath going. You want to stretch at the end of the exercise session. So it's better, you want to stretch warmed muscles rather than your muscles when you're cold. They're cold. It used to be, the thinking was you stretch before you did your exercise, but it's changed a bit, and you want your muscles to be warmed up before you do your stretching. And gradual progression of volume and intensity. So you want to slowly increase your resistance and your number of sets. We'll talk about this a little more in a minute, but you want to progress your weight when you can perform 8 to 12 reps pretty easily. And again, I want to emphasize this, increasing the weight is the key to building strength. The muscle, it must be challenged to get stronger. Does anybody have any questions? That didn't do right. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on to osteoporosis? Yes.
So they say no pain, no gain. But if you are having pain, do you keep doing it? Or?
Okay, Carol says, do we keep doing it if you're having pain? So with strength training, you might have delayed onset, of muscle soreness. And that's normal. So let's say you really worked out hard. You really pushed yourself. The next day or two, your muscles might be sore. But that kind of soreness. Most people know that kind of soreness. that's an actual, just a muscle soreness. But if you are having like a joint pain or a pain while you're doing the actual exercise, then to me, then something's not right. Either maybe it's too much weight, maybe your positioning is not good. So I would rethink. Maybe you need to redo that. You need to change how you do that certain exercise. Do it in a different way. So I don't really believe in no pain, no gain. You likely might have some muscle soreness the day after, but you only want it to be like muscle. Like the next day, let's say if you weight train and the next day your back is like killing you, then I would say, okay, you need to reevaluate that. Your back shouldn't be killing you the day after you strength train or do an exercise program. That tells me that either, like I said, your positioning wasn't good, or maybe you need to back off a little bit. Maybe your weights were too much. You know, it might be already that you have some back issues and you might have to go a little easier, go a little slower so that you don't irritate your back. But, you know, when I work with people, I always say, you know, tell me if anything is hurting. Now, and then when I go back, I say, how did you feel after we had our session? Were you hurting a lot more? Because you don't want, I don't believe in really the no pain, no gain. Other questions about that? Okay. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about osteoporosis. The reason why we're going to talk about osteoporosis is I see it a lot of my patients have osteoporosis in home health. And if you do, and it's important to know about osteoporosis as we age, because it's very, very common. And also it's important from an exercise standpoint. If you do have osteoporosis, then you want to do some things differently with exercise. So that's why we're going to focus on osteoporosis. So most people probably know this, but osteoporosis is a disease characterized by loss of bone density and deterioration of the bone structure, leading to an increased risk of fracture. So a person suffering from osteoporosis is at a higher risk for experiencing painful, debilitating broken bones. These fractures can affect mobility and can compromise the quality of life. Spine fractures may also cause deformities and cause loss of height. And although it's 4 times more common in women, osteoporosis can affect older men as well. So 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men over the age of 50 will break a bone due to osteoporosis in their lifetime. That's shocking. That's very shocking, but a bone break results from osteoporosis every 3 seconds worldwide. Men older than 50 are more likely to experience an osteoporosis-related hip fracture in their lifetime than they are to get prostate cancer. And women are more likely to suffer an osteoporosis-related fracture in their lifetime than to be diagnosed with breast cancer. Once you've broken a bone due to osteoporosis, then you have twice the risk of sustaining another fracture. So what factors affect bone loss? There are certain factors that can speed bone loss, leading to osteopenia. That's when you have bone loss, but it's not, it's sort of the beginning of bone loss, or osteoporosis. And these include age, which, over 60, decrease in estrogen in women due to menopause. So this is often, women lose, I don't know the exact amount, but once you hit menopause, you start significantly losing your bone mass. All right. Low testosterone levels in men, poor nutrition, specifically insufficiency of calcium or vitamin D. That's still a little bit controversial, you know. it'll come up and say, oh, you need to take all the, you need to take calcium supplements, you need to take vitamin supplements, and then something will come out and say, well, we don't know. So I think the calcium in particular, taking supplements is still a bit up in the air. I think that the vitamin D is they're showing is more important, and smoking. Yes.
After menopause, you were saying because of loss of, your body doesn't produce the estrogen it used to.
Yeah.
But I remember a few years ago, women were taking estrogen and then they said, no, don't take that because it causes cancer.
Well, okay, yes. Okay. So the question was, they used to encourage women to take estrogen, and once they went through menopause, and then they were saying that it caused cancer. So this is a controversy. This is still a bit of a controversy. It seems like that estrogen, it used to be, that almost every woman that went through menopause got put on estrogen because they really thought it helped a lot of things. Well, then they did realize that it maybe doesn't necessarily help everything that they thought. It doesn't prevent as many things. So I think that they are coming back around to saying, no, estrogen doesn't necessarily cause cancer. But if you have a history of breast cancer, talk to your doctor about it, about whether it would be appropriate for you to go on estrogen or not. And they are using estrogen more than kind of that in-between period where they were saying, no, don't take estrogen, it causes cancer. I know that's about as clear as mud, isn't it? Yes, Gay. There's she's going to give you the mic.
Thanks. So what I read most recently is that if you've already started estrogen before age 60, then right now anyway, they're saying it doesn't increase. That's the current thinking, which could change next year, right?
Yes, yeah.
But if you've hit 60, that there's a higher risk if you started after 60. And that's the bucket I fell into. So I'm using a plant-based estrogen, which is supposed to not have those effects. And it's over the counter.
The estrogen thing is still, I think that research hasn't settled all the questions about whether women should have estrogen. But if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, then that makes you should definitely discuss it in more detail with your doctor, because it's possible that estrogen, especially women that have had, some breast cancers are definitely related to estrogen. So,
My understanding is that if you have breast cancer, estrogen is not recommended.
yes. Now, there are, yes, we'll leave it at that. Yes, yes, Kurt. Okay, Kurt.
One of the world's renowned vitamin D specialists from Cornell University when I was in Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh, rickets was becoming a big problem. And it was determined that it was lack of calcium and not vitamin D. It takes 15 minutes of sunlight per week on the size of the back of your hand to produce enough vitamin D. So we get plenty of vitamin D.
Yeah.
And that's why babies were put in their trams in the sun for a few minutes.
Okay, these are a few more risk factors for osteoporosis. So excessive alcohol consumption, which that's 2 drinks per day for men or more than 1 drink per day for women. Certain medications like prednisone, like especially long-term prednisone use, not just, oh, I had prednisone one time for a sinus infection, but long-term prednisone use, hormone blockers, such as those used for breast and prostate cancer, lack of physical activity, lack of exposure to sunlight, certain health conditions like chronic kidney disease, diabetes, and rheumatoid arthritis, and race. So white and Asian women are at highest risk, especially smaller women, smaller, lighter weight women, increases your risk. And white men are at a higher risk than African American and Mexican American men. So bone density, most people probably know this, is measured by, it's called a DEXA scan, and that's the gold standard. And, you know, your doctor orders it, and you go in and lay on the table, and it takes like 2 minutes, and it's done. They use a low amount of x-ray to look at the mineral content in your bones. And then that gives you what's called a T-score. And the T-score tells you whether you have osteoporosis or not. Okay, so who should have a bone mineral density test? Women 65 plus, women of menopausal age with any risk factors, postmenopausal women under 65 with risk factors, men over 70, a man 50 to 69 with risk factors, anybody who's had a bone fracture that was not, you know, extremely traumatic. In other words, you know, you had you slipped and had sort of a easy fall, but you broke something. That might suggest osteoporosis. If you have osteoporosis, your doctor will likely provide you information about fall prevention, exercise, calcium, vitamin D, and possibly recommend medication. A bone mineral density test is recommended every 1 to 2 years to monitor your response to treatment. Yes.
Do you have any idea how much it costs to have one of those tests done? Because insurance, generally for men, won't cover it.
I'm surprised that insurance does not cover it for
That's
men.
what I was told when I asked about it. So I know in women it's covered, not in men.
Yeah, it's definitely covered with women. I do not know. I've never heard that. And it should be covered for men over 70 for sure. I don't know how much it would cost, but that would be something I would talk to your doctor about and maybe investigate just a little further to make absolutely sure that whoever told you that was definitely correct. Or call your insurance company, you know, and ask.
You could also just ask for what's the out-of-pocket cost, because a lot of times it's a lot cheaper, and just get it yourself.
April suggests ask what's the out-of-pocket cost. I would call your insurance company first and verify. And then, yes, ask for the out-of-pocket cost because, yeah, it is a lot of times much cheaper than what the insurance cost is. So what are the warning signs of vertebral or spine fractures? Okay. Early symptoms of spine fractures might be subtle and easy to miss. You might not have any symptoms, but some early signs are loss of height by at least 1 inch, shortness of breath, back pain. It says lower back pain, but really any back pain that's, I would say mid to lower back pain. Posture changes. So if you feel like that I'm getting humped over, I'm starting to be like this and I can't straighten up. Fractures over the age of 50. So if you're experiencing any of the above or you're concerned at all about your posture, I would talk to your doctor about it. So this is a picture of a neutral spine, and then you see kyphosis is this
Curve right here.
Now that's an exaggerated, but that's what a kyphosis is. Okay, treatment of osteoporosis. The goals of treatment are slow or stop bone loss and prevent fractures. So some of the things that the doctor may recommend are proper nutrition, lifestyle changes, exercise, fall prevention, and medications. We're going to talk about a couple lifestyle changes in a minute, but weight-bearing exercises help build muscle mass and strengthen bones. And this is really important for if you have osteoporosis, to do weight-bearing exercise, because that's what happens is that the bone, it's the same thing as with the muscles. You stress the bone, and then that's what actually helps build more bone. So weight-bearing exercises are helping to build more bone. So dancing, walking, climbing steps. So if you just, let's say if you have mild osteoporosis, then, jogging's fine, tennis. If you have more advanced osteoporosis, you may want to do more lower impact options. Okay. Let's see. So these are some other good exercises: Tai Chi, strength training, balance exercises, biking, gentle stretching, avoiding trunk flexion, which is exercises to improve back extension motion and strength are especially beneficial. So studies show that increasing the strength in your back extensors, which that's this, decrease the risk of a vertebral fracture. So that might be standing, just leaning backwards. And I've got some handouts, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but I do have a few back extension exercises on the handout. So laying on your stomach even. Prone extension. That's where, and there's a picture of it. I don't think I have a picture on the slides, but it's where you're laying on your stomach, and you might do like the Superman. That's a prone extension exercise. Okay, so this is the main thing that I wanted to emphasize about osteoporosis, is exercises to avoid. So you want to avoid flexion, rotation, and combined flexion, rotation. So flexion is this. Flexion and rotation is this. What happens is your vertebra, think of your vertebra as almost like sort of like a box that your spinal cord goes down through. And when you bend forwards, if you have osteoporosis, we bend forwards a lot. Even sitting, we tend to be more rounded. Most things that we do in life are pulling us sort of this way rather than this way. And with continuous, frequent bending forwards, you wind up sort of compressing the front of the vertebra. It can sort of collapse, and then that's, if you've got boxes stacked, it's straight. But then if you have triangles, the front part of your vertebra is smushed down a little bit, and you have enough of those stacked up, that's what causes that hump, that forward posture. So you want to avoid sit-ups, like, old style sit-ups where you sit all the way up. If you have osteoporosis, this is only if you have osteoporosis. Let's see. Yoga can be really beneficial, but you want to avoid certain poses like forward folds. That's this. I think that's what ragdoll is too. Rolling like a ball. So all of those things are like excessive trunk flexion. And there's some machines that you just want to be very careful with. Again, it's the positioning on your machine. You want to be sure that whichever exercise that you're doing is not causing you to be doing this. So I just thought this was an interesting visual. of different postures. And you see how the posture that we want is this first one. You want your pelvis relatively straight. You want the line going from your ear down through your trunk, down straight through your hip, right down through your ankles. And you see how the line changes when your back and your pelvis posture changes. So our goal is to shoot for this. And that can even mean that we just think about our posture when we stand. We think, okay, I've got a little string right here. Just being aware is half the battle. Being aware of your posture in standing and in sitting. Okay, use of proper body mechanics. So we bend a lot in things that we do in life. So that might mean that you, when you bend, if you do have to bend, that you bend this way. You hinge at the hip rather than like that. Do y'all see the difference? No? Okay. So the first way I'm hinging here and keeping my back straight. The other way, let's say pulling weeds. I'm not really paying any attention to my back. And if we have osteoporosis, a lot of times what winds up happening is, as we bend forwards, more and more of that motion is in our thoracic spine, in this part here that's already kind of bent. So if you can just think about keeping your back as straight as possible when you bend, or try to kneel or change the posture that you're getting down low.
My physical therapist said a biggest problem, not pulling weeds as much, but unloading the dishwasher or loading the dishwasher, which we all do almost every day.
Yes.
And it's really hard to be aware of how you're standing.
It is very hard to be aware, especially when you're doing everyday kind of things, because we're so used to just automatically doing things. Another thing is putting heavy pots and pans up higher. A lot of times we'll put our heavy pots and pans down on the bottom shelf, and that means that you've got to bend over, so you're bending and you're lifting. So if you have osteoporosis, that is just not, you really want to try to not do that. You want to move, if at all possible, move your heavier things up higher. You know, I would rather you be reaching here, not like have to get up on a step, but reaching here to get something like that than bending way over and lifting. Another thing that we tend to do is bending over to tie our shoe. That really, I've seen people do that and their mid-back just goes, so if you can, just cross your leg over or even put your foot on a stool and keep your back straight when you bend to do that. So it is a lot of just kind of thinking through things that you do, paying attention until you change your habit of how you're doing it. And Diane's bringing the mic.
Isn't that about bending at the hip rather than the waist? Is that another way to phrase it?
I guess so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because your waist really is about here. So, and your hips are here. So, yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You can keep your back straight if you bend at the hips. So another thing is sitting posture. So easy chairs sometimes can be the worst for not providing good back support. I can't tell you how many patients I've seen that are sitting on their couch literally like this. their couch, especially if you've got an old chair or an old couch, but a lot of times recliners don't give you that much support in your back anyway. So, look at what you sit on at home. I almost always use a pillow to my back, partly because I'm short, and so almost all chairs are a little too deep. But that also helps give me better posture, helps me sit up straighter. So definitely look at the place that you like to sit at home. Okay, how can your physical therapist help? If you do have osteoporosis, and let's say you're concerned about your posture, you know that you've got pretty advanced osteoporosis, then you might want to have a physical therapist do an evaluation and just work with you a little bit more specifically about, like what Barbara was mentioning, about lifestyle changes and help you think about specific things in your life. Okay, we're going to move on to balance. So, of course, we know as we age, we do tend to lose our balance. It becomes a little bit more challenging to manage our balance for a variety of reasons. And sometimes people will develop a fear of falling, either because they've fallen or they know that their balance is not quite where it used to be, and that can sort of perpetuate then decreased activity, which then increases risk of falls. So one thing that's really important with balance is thinking about doing, most things that we do at home are sort of dual task. We're walking, we might be walking through a tight space and we're carrying something, or we are talking to somebody while we're walking. So motor and cognitive tasks, that's usually just a natural thing that we do. So both healthy seniors and those with balance impairment show reduced physical performance under cognitive stress or when engaged in attention-demanding tasks. In other words, as we age, it becomes harder for us to do, say, like something that's really challenging our brain and our motor system at the same time compared to a 20-year-old. So that's why we want to try to train our balance somewhat with these dual task activities. So adding a cognitive or motor task to any balance exercise makes it more challenging, and it might have it's going to have carryover to your daily living. So some things that you can do and I've got some balance exercises down here, and I'm going to show you a couple things up here. So instead of just walking on a tightrope, or imaginary tightrope, you can also add counting forwards or backwards from 100 by threes. Yes, it's challenging, and I'll also be counting 100, 97. It's much more challenging when you add that cognitive task. You can also do balance activities with your eyes open and with your eyes closed. So I want everybody to stand up. If you're concerned about your balance at all, then we're going to stand on one leg. But if you're concerned at all about your balance, have your chair there so you can lightly touch if you need to, or the table. And so I want people to try to stand on one foot. See how long you can hold it. That's pretty good. Okay, now you can put it back down. Now I want you to try to do it with your eyes closed. And you see how that really adds a lot more challenge than you would think it would. Okay, y'all can sit back down. So static and dynamic balance activities are important. And I've got a handout that's got a lot of these. For some people, now these might be super easy. Other people, they might be much more challenging. but you can do all of these positions that I've got listed and hold them for 30 to 60 seconds. As I've got written, you can start with your eyes open and then advance to eyes closed. You can also do it with head movements. So walking on a tightrope, looking up and down, turning head to the side. See, I fell off the balance. Oh, I fell off the rope, the tightrope. Then you can also do this standing on a balance pad or a pillow. This is a balance pad, and it's kind of like standing on firm jello. And it just adds another layer of challenge. And you can do all kinds of things on this. I put a handout that came with a balance pad that I bought on the table, and you can look at that. But you can do all kinds of things on this balance pad. You can also do it on a pillow, just like a foam pillow. Just be careful when you step on and off a pillow. And you can get a balance pad. You don't have to get a fancy one. They have them at Walmart, or you can order them Amazon. Let's see. All right. Okay, this is called the 4-square stepping. And I've got 4 yardsticks up here that I've got laid out in a square. And this is actually also a test. So if it takes you more than 15 seconds to complete this, that indicates an increased risk for falls. But this is also on that handout. I like this one a lot. It's just you step forward, side, back, side, and then reverse it all the way back around. And yardsticks are, easy. Or you can get newspaper, roll up newspaper and put them in a square. Braiding, this is a little more challenging. Put one foot in front of the other, then behind.
Tonya, do you mind demonstrating that 4-step?
Oh, sure. Okay. Let's see. So I'll start this one. So you just step.
Okay. And then opposite. Thank you.
Yep. And to make it a little more challenging with yardsticks, you can also do kind of shifting in different directions if you really want to challenge yourself. You can I love yardsticks because they're so easy to just move, and if you step on them, they're not going to throw you down. But you can also, depending on your balance, if your balance is a little more challenged, you can spread the yardsticks out ladder fashion so that you're stepping in between. You can step over them sideways. You can put them together and then have a big step over and a big step back, a sideways step, sideways back. So there's lots of things that you can do with yardsticks. Yes.
And walking partner Kathy, who's here today, we finish up our walk each morning with what we call line dancing, and it's that braiding. And we come halfway down my street leading with one foot, like this, and crossing over, and then we turn around and lead with the other one the rest of the way.
That is a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. Okay. These are just a few other balance things. You can also do like starting, stopping, turning suddenly, turning around, turning like this, stopping, backwards walking. Okay, how to get started. Taking a class, I think is a great way. You have it scheduled. It's a great way to get started or to be regular with exercise. I think it might be more fun because of camaraderie. It also sort of holds you accountable because you know you've got a class scheduled. And especially if you have friends in it and you know they're waiting for you to get there. Also having an instructor who can ensure that you're doing the exercise correctly and with proper body mechanics, I think it's really good. If you can build exercise into your regular routine, so I know that helps me a lot when it's part of my habit. When I used to work, I would immediately exercise as soon as I got home. Now that my work is more kind of intermittent, my schedule is harder, and so I wind up missing my exercise more because I think, oh, well, I'll do it later. And then it gets to be 6 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking like, oh, no, it's too late now. So for me personally, if I can build it into my routine regularly, it helps so much. Of course, you want to start slow, set attainable goals. Like, I'm going to walk 10 minutes 3 times a week rather than, okay, I'm going to run a 5K, next month. Okay, and look for resources. So, of course, the continuing care facilities have fitness rooms and classes and trainers. So if you can take advantage of all of that, that's wonderful. Of course, the Orange County Senior Center has a wealth of classes. And the Passmore and Senior Center both have fitness rooms with trainers. Or Passmore, actually, the fitness room is the Orange County Sportsplex, but it's connected right there to Passmore. Silver sneakers. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, then very likely, then you have access to Silver Sneakers. And Silver Sneakers is a program that offers, like, a lot of times you can join almost any gym through Silver Sneakers. They have live online classes, on-demand videos of workouts. I've done several of their online, even though I don't have Silver Sneakers, you can still go online and see some of their videos. And they're actually very good. The Silver Sneakers, I would highly recommend Silver Sneakers videos. They also have like Tai Chi and some yoga classes. Tai Chi, actually, this is a little off the subject, but Tai Chi there's been tons of research to show that Tai Chi is very helpful with your balance. I mean, there's just bukus of research studies supporting Tai Chi. So, I like this woman's information a lot. Her name is Margaret Martin. I've got her book up here if you want to look at it. She has a program. You can get the book. She's got a bunch of videos. She does have some free videos on YouTube, but you can also, if you pay a little bit, it's not very much, you can get her exercise program. She's a physical therapist with a specialty in osteoporosis. And this book, Susan and I have been using this book. She's got what it is, it's 3 different levels. She starts out like if you've never exercised before, and she's got a whole exercise program. Then the next one is kind of, okay, you've exercised, but you're not a super athlete, then that level. And then she's got the athletic, and the athletic one is very challenging, which I love. So she's got the whole range in this book. It's strengthening exercises, and then she also includes some flexibility. So I do like this a lot. And then this is a great book. Sorry that my slide, I don't know what happened, but anyway. It's called Age Defying Fitness, and this is written by 2 PTs, geriatric specialist PTs, kind of the gurus in the PT geriatric world. And it's really a great book. It includes assessments, so assessments of posture, strength, balance, flexibility, and endurance. So she's literally got like where you can assess yourself. And then each chapter provides exercises for, each category. It's a very good book. And you can get this on Amazon. There's also on the CDC website a program. It's called Growing Stronger, Strength Training for Older Adults. And if you just go to CDC and put Growing Stronger, it's like 132 pages. I would have printed it off, but and it starts with it's very detailed. It starts with goals, how to set your goals, and then it's exercise program that's written out with, that's a good program too. And if you have medical problems like osteoporosis, heart disease, arthritis, significant scoliosis, something like that, you might want to reach out to a physical therapist. We got bukus of them in the area, and have an assessment and maybe even get them to work with you some, and then they can help you know what's the next step after you finish PT, like how to continue. Okay, next I'm going to show just a few things. I haven't even looked at the time. Okay. These are, so as I mentioned, I've got some handouts, Staying Strong Takeaways, with the resources on the back. Actually, I've got the 2 books listed on this handout. There's a balance handout, a chair rise exercise that I love because it also, I think, okay. This is actually a test too, and you can look it up to see what your age range norm is if you want to test yourself. I thought it had the age range norms on there, but it doesn't. And then there's some, I was like, don't do sit-ups. Well, what do I do if I can't do sit-ups? So there's a handout here for abdominal exercises and for some back extension exercises. So feel free to take any handouts. If you're doing your weight training at home, I like this ankle weight thing. It's got slots for, you can change it from 1 pound to 5 pounds. So it's got little lead things in here that you can take out. So that makes it a lot more versatile, than having to get a 2 pound and a 5 pound These are rolls. This is a half roll, and I'm going to just lay down up here and kind of show y'all. Y'all might want to stand up, but I like these a lot for stretching, and you can also use these for balance. I'll show you in just a minute. This is like a stretching strap, so it's got loops in it, and you can put your foot in it, and you can do all kinds of different stretches with it, laying down, sitting, use it for your arms or your legs. I mean, you can also just go to the thrift store and buy a few ties and tie them together and use it. But I'm sure you can get this on Amazon too, or something like it, if you wanted something like this. So I'm just going to show you a few things. I'm sorry that it might be, just kind of move around to see. So this is actually a great way to stretch your back and also your chest. There are many other things you can do to it, but I'm going to show you that.
I want to tell the group that I just ordered the Age-Defying Fitness book, and we'll put it in the library.
Great.
I ordered
Okay.
it with senior adult funds, and
Great.
we'll give that to the library so folks will be able to check it out and use it.
I think that one costs about,
That one's sort of expensive.
was it $30?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Margaret Martin's book, I think, is like $18. So this is a half roll, so it's very stable. But I'm just going to lay down on it. Just like this. And it feels actually really good. It's really stretching the front of my chest, which, you know, we don't stretch this part a lot. You can also turn this sideways, and you can lay your back over it a lot of different ways. There's also a soft half roll. So if you've got, you know, if you've got a more sensitive back, or let's say this one is pretty hard. This soft one is actually just a little easier, especially if you're going to be laying this way on it. It actually feels really good. Now this is a full roll, and you can use this for stretching, and this will give you even better stretch, but you can also use it for some balance. So you can put one leg up, you could throw a ball up and down, you know, you could do this. It's a
It looks challenging.
It is a challenge. It's a challenge. I meant to bring my therapy ball too. I'm sure everybody's probably seen a therapy ball. Yes, it's the big kind of, you blow it up. And so if you get a therapy ball, you just want to be careful because you want to be sure that you feel comfortable with your balance on it, because it can, you know, roll out from under you if you're not careful with it. But you can do so many different things with a therapy ball too. You can, yeah, shoot, I wish I'd have brought it. But you can like get on your stomach and kind of do things like this. You can do sitting on it, challenge your balance like this. So a therapy ball is a great, and they don't cost very much either. Okay. Yes, as long as you don't have osteoporosis. So, as long as, yes, as long as you're not curling up, like you're not curling your, like you can actually kind of do if you keep your back straight, yes.
Why, when I was going, talking, the line was all, and just raise my chin up first, really. And that kept my back straight.
Yeah.
So I was just, you know, I wasn't crunching at all.
Yeah.
Or wasn't curling at all.
Yes. Okay, any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. First off, it's wonderful to see you in your element. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
And when the question was asked, how much are out of cost price for a scan, I Googled it, and AI tells us that it's between $160 and $175, depending on where we live for that scan. So just thought I'd add a little numeric emphasis to your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's actually less than I thought it might be. Okay, Kurt.
Planet Fitness is the silver sneakers, and my wife and I joined. If you add $12 more, you can use their hydro massage and chair massage. It's well worth it. And for many people, UNC Wellness is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for ours, it wasn't UNC Wellness, but we joined UNC Wellness.
Yeah. Silver sneakers, I think it's a wonderful advantage to having a Medicare Advantage plan. So there's lots of, and there's bukus. I see, here's a, yeah, Vanna. Thank you, Vanna. Here you go.
Yeah, I'll do my advertising. Our Orange County Department on Aging has these two amazing facilities in the county. The Seymour Center, named after the Seymours, right, who helped start this church. And that's in Chapel Hill off Homestead Road, MLK. And there's another one called the Passmore Center in Hillsborough that's attached to the Sportsplex. Both of the Seymour Center actually has a small gym with a personal trainer. There, you can engage him if you want, very reasonably priced for an initial assessment for $35. And then you can do that's an hour assessment. You can do a half-hour training with him for $25, which is reasonable considering personal training. He's a young guy. I had a session with him yesterday. He knows how to deal with people just starting out exercising after you haven't, and old bodies. He's really good about, if you say you've got pain, he helps you adjust what you're doing to really get to the right form. But both the Sportsplex in Hillsborough and the place in Seymour, the gym, are Silver Sneakers. And even though if you don't have Silver Sneakers, I think it's a very minimal fee at Seymour. I think it's about $25 or $30 a month, which again is low compared to a lot of other places. And I wanted to let you know, this is published every 3 months by the Orange County Department on Aging. It's got a section for wellness exercise classes. Most of them are free. Some of them are $6. There's strength training, exercise for people with arthritis, chair exercise. Most of this stuff is free and provided there. Please take one of these magazines if you're interested. Oh, and they do free Tai Chi classes. So
There is also a weight training class in there done by a guy who's done it for years. He does like a intro weight training, I think it's called weight training, and then level 2. So that might be something to check out. Another thing is things like line dancing. They have line dancing groups, and line dancing is a phenomenal exercise.
there's a free line dance group at the Passmore Center on Tuesday mornings at 10, I believe. And it's not really far from here. It's maybe 10 miles. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're into dancing, line dancing, it's a great exercise for your balance, for, aerobic. Any other questions? I hope you gained a few pearls of wisdom from this. And please get handouts, and if you have specific questions, ask me as we wrap up. Thank you so much for coming.